we went through some challenging times. We had 2 cars and 1 car. Then I was borrowing my father's pickup truck. Mm-hmm. And 2 kids at the time. It's tough times.
It was.
Like tough times. Like I won't even go into how tough. I mean, borrowing money from our family, from friends. But I'm painting this vision. I'm casting this vision. I'm like, babe, this is where we're going. I'm telling you this is where we're going. What makes you say, I'm going to support you? And again, and I know it's a lot of factors in a lot of people's lives, right? But let's just talk about our life right now.
Okay.
Right? So what makes you support me when the vision I'm casting looks nothing like the circumstances at that time? In fact, it looks like what I'm saying we're going to do, we're actually heading in the opposite direction.
If you're a go-getter, faith-driven, and family-focused, and need to break through to your next level, this is the podcast for you. Your self-talk can reshape every area of your life. It's time to dream and think big. Welcome to the Self-Talk Experience with Darnell and Traci Self. It's time to elevate, baby. Let's get into the show.
Here we are.
Hey.
Another episode of Self-Talk.
I can't believe you got me to come back.
Hey, listen, I'm loving this podcast.
I am too. I am having a good time.
Yeah, and thanks for being my co-host. You're my guest today.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you questions today.
Okay.
Last episode, you asked me questions.
I did, but it was only 2.
Okay,
so
I'll ask you
2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I think I can do 2 questions.
Yeah. You know, and so we're talking about self-talk, right? Because the things we say to ourselves about ourselves eventually determine what we attract and even who we attract for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And did you know, I told you I'm going to give you facts every single week about inner speech.
Okay.
So this episode's fact is that, did you know that inner speech, self-talk, is 10 times faster than verbal speech?
What do you mean?
So not only do we have, as we talked about in the last episode, 50 to 70,000 thoughts every single day, but when we're talking to ourselves, we actually talk to ourselves 10 times faster than we talk to someone else. And here's the reason why, because you said why. And I just thought I'd repeat everything again. Number one, because inner speech is not held to the same factors that's required to produce verbal speech, like lips, tongue, voice box, right? All those things are required in verbal speech. Mm-hmm. Like right now, all that's required for me to actually speak.
Right.
None of that's required for inner speech, for self-talk. Secondarily, think about this. You don't have to speak in complete sentences. You can condense what you're saying to yourself because you never have to explain to yourself what you meant.
Wow, yes.
So when I'm talking to you, I have to be clear. You're like, I don't understand.
Right.
When I'm talking to myself, I know exactly what I meant.
Right.
So when I'm saying stuff to myself, I'm actually condensing what I'm saying. I don't have to say, Darnell, are you actually going to return that text right now? Like, turn the text? Question mark. That's what I'm saying to myself. It's condensed. And I say it 10 times faster because I don't actually have to say it with enunciation, using my teeth, my tongue.
And is it faster when you're talking to yourself because you don't have to think as much as what you want to say or how you want to convey it? Because it doesn't matter because it's inner talk.
Right. Exactly.
So sometimes maybe I'm talking slower to use. I want to tell you how I'm feeling. But if I'm talking to myself, I know how I feel. And it's faster.
Well,
does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. And here's what happens too, is that if you watch children, what was inner talk or self-talk, they actually start off by actually saying it verbally. But somewhere along the line, it becomes kind of awkward, incorrect politically,
sure.
Right? And so people shut it down. Like, you talking to yourself? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm okay with talking to myself. I talk to myself all the time. Like, do you better than this? Let's go. Or I'm in the gym. I'm like, all right, come on, one more set. Let's go.
Right.
But if you watch a child will say something like, I'm building a house. They're actually not only talking about what they're doing, but they'll say things like, it's going to be a big house like Auntie. Mm-hmm. They're actually putting into to the universe the plan on how they're going to build it. It's going to be a big house, like aunties.
Wow. Yeah. But it's interesting too, because sometimes as adults, we do it accidentally. You know, sometimes you'll say something and people will be like, what? You're like, did I just say that out loud?
Right.
So it's funny that comes out even accidentally as you get older.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's so true. And, you know, just like we talked about in the last episode, because I really want our audience to get this. Because when I was working a job, I worked at the mall, which is where I met you. Want to tell everybody how I met you? I'll tell it.
I'll correct you if you mess it up.
So we were working at this mall while we were in college. You were at Morgan State. I was at Bowie State. And I was at University of Maryland, I think.
Well, I wasn't working there. You were working there. And my sister and I would come to that mall all the time. But I always wanted to come past your store because seemed like you were always in the front of the store. Mm-hmm. So I always wanted to come in just so I could see you.
Yeah.
Because I thought you were cute. And I dragged my sister. She remembers it. I used to drag her in there because we couldn't afford it. We never bought anything because it was a high-end store. So I couldn't afford to shop there. But we just came in there to see you. And you never noticed me.
I did notice you. I just was too shy.
But you don't remember me coming in there, do you? You just remember when I got the job. But do you remember when I used to come in?
There was a lot of pretty girls that walked in.
Wow.
So hold on, let me finish.
Whoa.
There was a lot of pretty girls, but I remember you being one of the pretty girls who walked in because you were looking at a Simpson t-shirt.
You remember that? I got the Bart Simpson t-shirt.
I didn't remember.
Because they weren't expensive.
So
it was one of many. Wow.
Yeah, but 27 years, like we really want to talk about.
You bought up the mall.
Okay, so look.
What is your point?
I bought the mall for a reason.
I don't understand.
I bought up the mall for a reason. Check this out. This is gonna be critical.
Okay.
So we were working at the mall together, and an incident happened. Mm-hmm. A violent incident. Mm-hmm. It was really violent at the mall, right? You remember people getting shot at the food court.
Sure.
So a couple of different things happened for me to say enough is enough, right? So I quit my job, and you quit too because you worked at the mall.
Well, I quit that time. You fired me a couple of times before I quit. Remember that?
I remember that, but that's not this episode.
So we are going to have an episode where we talk about you firing me.
I fired you because you didn't understand the importance of me giving compliments to people trying on clothes. That's why they bought it. They were like, "Oh, do I look good in this?" I'm like, "Yeah, you look great."
And you had to go inside the fitting room.
I did not go inside the fitting room.
Yes, you
I
did.
opened the fitting room door.
Okay. I'm sorry. We're way off track. But I really don't want this to be edited out because I like for people to see this is what you used to do.
Yeah, so I had to fire you. And then I
wasn't personally developed at that time.
Yeah, but here's the craziest thing. How do you fire your spouse? Like, because you're like, go clock out.
We were married. We were.
Oh, we were. I said, go clock out and wait for me in the car, right? Because we had to ride.
You were my ride.
Yeah, we were. We were riding together. It's crazy. Anyway, so I only brought that up because when I quit, you went on to get a job at the cable station in your degree, broadcast journalism, right? To work at the cable station to support me in my entrepreneurial ventures. And here's the question I said I was going to ask you last episode because we're bringing up this whole self-talk piece. And that is, for 3.5 years, we went through some challenging times. We had 2 cars and 1 car, and then I was borrowing my father's pickup truck. Mm-hmm. And 2 kids at the time. It's tough times.
It was.
Like, tough times. Like, I won't even go into how tough. I mean, borrow money from our family, from friends. But I'm painting this vision. I'm casting this vision. I'm like, babe, this is where we're going. I'm telling you this is where we're going. What makes you say, I'm going to support you? And again, and I know it's a lot of factors in a lot of people's lives, right? But let's just talk about our life right now.
Okay.
Right? So what makes you support me when the vision I'm casting looks nothing like the circumstances at that time? In fact, it looks like what I'm saying we're going to do, we're actually heading in the opposite direction. Does that question make sense?
Yes, it does. That's such a loaded question.
Just say what comes to mind.
Well, we were just talking to one of our teammates the other day. He asked me a similar question. I think that one of the reasons is because of how I was raised and what I saw. So I always saw my grandmother support my grandfather. I always saw my mom support my dad. So when I got married, that was what I was expected to do when I got married, to support my husband, unless you were doing something that was just totally against our morals and ethics, right? So I think in my mind, I thought, this is what you do. If you're going through something, you stick together. That's just kind of what you do. Because my mom and dad started out in efficiency. Mm-hmm. And she stuck it out with him. They stuck it out together and grew together. So in my mind, that's what we were going to do too. It seemed impossible at the time, but that's just what we did. And I had everything down to a science. I was like, okay, I even knew then. Don't laugh. If you remember this, I remember the bills used to come in different color envelopes when you didn't pay them. So I don't remember the order now, but it was like we would get the colors, but I knew which color to pay. But I knew if it came in the pink one, we had to pay the pink one, but there was one that was due at the same time that was in a green envelope. So I was like, I could pay the green envelope later. But I had everything down to a science. I just did it. And I think too, I was surrounding myself with people who didn't think you were so crazy. If I was around people in my ear saying negative things about you and why was I doing it and how is this going to work, I think I may have gone down a different path. Yeah. But because I was around, like when we had one car for a long time. Mm-hmm. So when we had one car, you had the car. And sometimes you took the TV because back then, when you went to the meetings to do the presentations for the business, you had to have the VHS tape. So you would take...
You're really aging us now.
You would take the TV, right? So I was at home with the kids without a car and without a TV.
Right.
So instead of wallowing in it, my mom would call and say, hey, do you want to come over and spend time with them? And she was positive. My sister, hey, we should learn how to cook something. Bring the kids over. We can just all do it together. So I was doing those types of things when you were out doing that. Instead of at home kind of wallowing in, I wish I had this, I wish I had that. But again, what we talked about in the first episode, I get to stay home with the kids. And I wonder now when I think back, if that's why they're so close and we're so close, because we were kind of stuck with nothing to do but play with each other and be around each other. Play games with them, talk to them. We would sing songs together, do work together. So I think that was a good thing. Yeah. Looking back on it. Yeah. That I was put in that position with the boys. Yeah.
That's tough. I mean, the one thing is you couldn't even go to your mom's house, your sister's house.
They had to come get me.
Right. They had to come get you.
Yeah, right? But my mom didn't say, well, I have to go get Traci.
Right. That's my point.
They were like, oh, we get to go get Traci. We get to see the kids and we get to spend time together. Yeah. And that's what I was around. Yeah. So that was partly shaping me. Yeah. For how I thought. Yeah. So this is it. And I'm glad you brought this up, right? I hope I'm answering the question.
No, you are. You are, because we're talking about self-talk and how to help shape the thoughts that others are having, right? About themselves, the thoughts they have about others, the thoughts they have about their situation, right? Because thoughts become things. So what we're talking about now is associations. That's one thing. We're going to talk about a lot of things. I'm sure our guests will talk about, hey, here's how I shape my thoughts.
Sure.
And here's how I attracted the millions I have. Or here's how I attracted the healthiest relationships. Here's how I built, relationships and networking events. Right? Because going into the events, my thinking was this.
Right.
So associations, and this is critical because for all of our budding entrepreneurs and people who are stepping out to do something that perhaps is not the norm, right? It's not the norm. Most folks are like, you're crazy if you don't know when your next check is coming in. And I always felt like I'm crazy if I know when my next check is coming in.
Wow.
Right?
Perception.
It's just because I felt like, how can you tell me what I'm worth a month from now when I feel like I'm better this month than I was last month?
Right.
right? I'm not knocking jobs. I'm just saying that was my self-talk. Like I'm more valuable next month than I am this month. My today's price is not yesterday's price. So what we're saying is that and when people are in a relationship, that the person who is actually diving into something new, obviously, and people talk about this all the time through personal development, they have to have a great association, accountability, mentorship. So that association is there. But the person who is not even, stepping out to do that thing also has to have an amazing association. Right,
exactly. So yes, that's what I was saying. It's important. It really is. And I was blessed because it even went outside of our family. We had great friends that were supportive as well. We had some that we kind of had to limit our associations with. But the good news is some of those people that we had to limit our associations with then, it came back around. Yeah. It wasn't the end of the season. It was just a pause. And now we're great friends. Right? Yeah. But I remember when it was a really bad snowstorm and we were stuck. I was stuck in the house, and Anthony, my buddy Anthony, right, had a truck, and he came over, picked me up, drove me through the snow. Like, we had people. Right. I had so many people around me. Like, that's okay. Y'all don't have a car. We have a truck. We'll come get you. You need to go to the grocery store. We'll come get it. So I was so blessed to be surrounded by so many people who were just so positive and helpful and motivating. Yeah. I really was.
Yeah. So this brings me to my next question that I'm going to ask right after we go to one of our sponsors.
Hey, Self Talk Experience family. If you want to do some great shopping and get great finds like this, follow my girl, thebrianna.k on Instagram. And if you want to shop, go here.
So at each level, so at 25, I quit my job. At 28, I finally find the vehicle that we used to have most of the success we have today. And at 29, you quit your job on maternity leave. We call it eternity leave, right? Because you never went back. How did you continue to believe? Because there's some folks right now at a level where they're at 50,000, they're at 75,000, they're at 100,000, whatever it is, $1 million, doesn't really matter. But for you, you have continued to buy into the vision of where we can be at the next level before we even see it. And it didn't even, at each level, it didn't look anything like what we were saying was going to look like. And so most folks, they're seeing it, right? They may wait for you to have a certain car, a certain watch, a certain, you know what I mean? So see you go shopping at a certain place, taking certain trips. And then they say, oh, I see y'all been trying on this thing working. It was working before we took the trips. It was working before we had the house, before we had the car.
It was all you.
What do you mean?
What you're doing right now, you're doing it right now. You probably have someone watching this right now who is seeing something for themselves that they wouldn't have seen. Because you just need that one person to make you believe it can happen. And you were that person for me. You painted a picture. I liked the picture. I said, I'm here for the picture. So whatever I have to do so we can be in this picture together, I'm going to do it. It was you. So you don't need 10 people supporting you and doing all these things for you. All you need is one person. One person who you know you can trust, and you'll follow them all the way. And it was you for me. You told me that I was going to have a house no one I knew had, a car, that I would have a car no one knew. I would go places. I've been places that I didn't even know existed because of believing in what you told me. It was all you. And to add to that, my love language is physical touch and quality time. Those have nothing to do with money or where I live or where I stay or where I go. So you always have given me physical touch and quality time. That's all I've ever needed. That's all I still need. Even if everything stopped and everything shut down, as long as I have you and that, I'm always going to be good. That's my answer.
Wow. Thank you.
You just need one person. No, seriously. Yeah. And also, it doesn't have to be someone that you know or that you've known, right? It could be someone in a podcast, someone that you listen to, or someone you see on television. It doesn't have to be always until you find the person who can be personable.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of people are like, well, I don't have anybody like that in my life. Nobody like that in my house. That's okay.
Right.
You may not know them right now. Right? So if you just have that one person that believes in you, you can go so far.
Yeah.
And some people, see, it could be their kid.
Yeah.
A little kid. Like, Mom, you can do that. You think so? Yeah, you can. Mom, you're beautiful. Dad, you're great. You're strong. You can do that.
Yeah.
It could be anyone. You just need one.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good because we were talking about, seeing it to believe it. And so
I didn't see it at all, but you saw it. So through you, I saw it.
That's exactly the point.
I was like, this is crazy. I don't understand any of this at all. But you saw it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stick with you.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, he sees something, so I'll pay the bills in the pink slip again. And we'll just ride this out. That's
no,
it.
I mean, I'm just thinking about my life. And how many times there's been one person that allowed me to go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Heading this way in one introduction. Like people are literally one introduction away, one conversation away from saying, you know what? I was going this way, but I'm going to make a slight pivot,
right.
A turn. Right. And then another one with another introduction and another introduction. Like even doing this podcast, I didn't realize I was doing this podcast a year ago.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I had said one day when we first started hearing about podcasts, because we're both into personal development, man, we should probably do something like a podcast. But I didn't think about co-hosting. Right. But meeting one person turned to meeting another person who said something, led to another person. Because I can think about 3 people right now that got me closer to actually doing this podcast.
That's good because it doesn't have to be just one person. It could be one person at a time.
Right, because it wasn't.
But it doesn't have to be
time.
one person
Yeah.
because that one person that you started out with may not be the person you're riding with now.
Right.
Right?
Right.
For whatever reason.
Right. And it wasn't even
Right.
bad. It's just one said the idea and one said, hey, have you
pushed you
tried
in that
this?
right
And
direction,
one
so
said,
you-
hey, have you taken this course? And right.
And you always love them for that first push,
Yeah.
even if you don't have any contact with them anymore
Yeah.
or they don't have a space
Yeah.
in your life right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. So good.
Those are good questions, babe.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Hey, what's up, fam? You got to connect with J&E Builders. They buy homes in any condition. J&E Builders even help out with distressed properties. And if you're dealing with a significant amount of taxes, J&E Builders will assist you with that home as well. Give them a hit at J&E_builders. That's at Instagram at J&E_builders. So author and trainer Monte Sanders has been in this health and wellness space for over 20 years. His most notable clients are NFL Hall of Famers Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. And guess what? He's got an Amazon best-selling book that you can gain access to right now. It's The Power of You versus You. I'm going to tell you right now how you can get access to that and his other programs. All you have to do is go to thepowerofyouversusyou.com. That's it. Thepowerofyouversusyou.com to get access to that amazing book as well as all of his other programs. Hey, what's up, Self-Talk Experience family? Listen, I thought I was going to get some bathrooms renovated, but I had no idea when I connected with my man, Stan Neal, that it would be more than a renovation. I'm not even sure what the term should be. Maybe transformation, because I started with the bathrooms and all of a sudden my entire basement was redone in a way that my family members thought I moved. Seriously. So if you're looking to take your house to the next level, whether it's some custom construction, some transformation of your bedroom, your bathrooms, your family room, your great room, I did it all. I mean, if I showed you my entire house before and after pictures, in fact, I'm going to show you some, you would say, no way is that the same room or the same house. Listen, I'm just saying this because I've got personal experience with this gentleman. So you want to connect with him, I'm going to give you the number, his office number to reach him, as well as email. And again, you will not be disappointed. So if you want to reach him via his office number, 202-359-3923. Again, 202-359-3923. And email is Stan, Stan.nealjr, Nealjr at freshairllc.com. Connect with my man Stan. You won't be disappointed. All right, so the next podcast, we're going to go further into self-talk, because one of the things I found to be true in me shaping my thoughts and thus shaping the things that we're blessed to have, and not just material things, but like you said, quality time, things like that.
Right.
We're going to talk about some of that strategy in the next episode, so that people can actually start practicing some things that will help them to shift perhaps the thoughts that they have daily in replacing some of those thoughts with other thoughts. Slowly but surely, it's like white blood cells fighting the disease, you know? So, what do you think?
I love it.
Okay. Good. Well, listen, another great self-talk, and hopefully we'll continue to remember the things we say to ourselves about ourselves eventually determine what we attract and even who we attract for ourselves. See you guys next time.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Self-Talk Podcast with Darnell and Traci Self. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. And we'll see you next time. And remember, talk good to yourself.
If you've ever started something and said to yourself, I'm not quitting until I reach the finish line, there's a perfect podcast for you. The We Won't Quit podcast by my man, Mike Humes, mailman and millionaire, never gave up. Not only did he have success, but he's helped a ton of other people do the same thing. He's going to be interviewing people who never stopped until they finish. So check it out. We Won't Quit podcast.